Valentine's Day had never been a big deal in Bill Belichick's world. He wasn't the kind of man to make grand, public gestures. He built dynasties, designed impenetrable defenses, and strategized every move in his life with the precision of a chess master. But when it came to love, that was a game he had never quite mastered. That's why Jordan Hudson never expected much on this day. She loved Bill for who he was: gruff, brilliant, intense, and deeply private. Their relationship had always been kept under wraps, away from the flashing cameras and headlines. But as the days passed, she could feel something shifting in him. And today, something was different. That morning, Jordan sat by the window of her Boston apartment, sipping a cup of coffee, scrolling absent-mindedly through her phone. Outside, the city was blanketed in a crisp layer of snow, the streets buzzing with couples walking hand in hand. Flowers in one hand, chocolates in the other. A sharp knock at the door snapped her out of her daze. She frowned, setting down her mug. She wasn't expecting anyone. As she opened the door, she was met with a delivery man holding a neatly wrapped navy blue box, the signature color of the Patriots. "Delivery for Jordan Hudson," the man said with a small, knowing smile. Her heart skipped a beat. She took the box, murmured a thank you, and shut the door, staring at the package in her hands. She knew exactly who it was from. Bill wasn't a man of many words, at least not when it came to feelings. He spoke fluently in football terminology in plays, in tactical breakdowns. But emotions? Those were uncharted waters. Jordan sat down at her dining table, her fingers tracing the edges of the box. Slowly, she untied the ribbon, pulled back the wrapping paper, and lifted the lid. What she found inside nearly made her gasp. A leather-bound playbook. But this wasn't just any playbook. It was old, worn with time, the edges slightly frayed. She recognized it immediately. It was one of Bill's personal playbooks from decades ago, filled with handwritten notes and strategies. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. On the very first page, in his unmistakable sharp handwriting, was a note written just for her. "Every great game is built on trust, patience, and teamwork. You are my greatest teammate. Happy Valentine's Day, Bill." Her breath hitched. This wasn't just a Valentine's Day gift. This was a piece of history. His history. She turned the pages, expecting to see his usual X's and O's, defensive plays, and scribbled game-time adjustments. But mixed in between the technical diagrams were personal notes, little observations. First time I saw her, knew she was different. Told myself I wouldn't fall. Guess I was wrong. Winning takes sacrifice. Love does too. Worth it. Tears welled up in her eyes. This was a side of Bill Belichick no one ever got to see. The world knew him as the cold, calculated genius. But here, in these pages, was a man who had quietly been falling in love. And then she found something else. A ticket, not to a football game, not to a press event, to the Patriots Hall of Fame induction dinner. She blinked confused before noticing the note beneath it, where something stunning. "You'll be on my arm." Officially, Jordan's heart pounded. Bill was inviting her publicly. They had spent months, years even, keeping things discreet. She had always understood his desire for privacy. But this was him saying, "I want the world to know you're mine." A tear slipped down her cheek as she clutched the playbook to her chest. Jordan spent the entire afternoon staring at the gift, rereading the words, absorbing what they meant. When her phone buzzed, she saw his name on the screen. Bill. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hey," she said softly. "Did you get it?" His voice was as steady and composed as ever, but there was something else there, something vulnerable. "I got it," she whispered. "Bill, I don't even know what to say." He let out a small, gruff chuckle. "That's a first." She laughed through the tears welling in her eyes. I don't know, Bill. This is the best thing anyone's ever given me. There was silence on the other end before he finally spoke. I'm not great at this, Jordan, he admitted. I've spent my whole life breaking down defenses, figuring out plays before they happen. But with you, I don't have a game plan. I just know that I don't want to lose you. Her breath caught. She had always known Bill cared, but hearing him say it, that was different. I don't need a game plan, she murmured. I just need you. There was a long pause before he finally said, I'll pick you up at 7. And just like that, the call ended. That evening, Jordan stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down the fabric of her elegant black dress. It was the first time she would be attending an event as Bill Belichick's girlfriend, not just a quiet presence in the background. At exactly 7 p.m., a knock sounded at her door. When she opened it, there he stood, Bill Belichick, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, looking as serious as ever, but there was something softer in his eyes. You look, he paused, as if searching for the right words. Jordan smiled, like your greatest teammate. A rare, small smile tugged at his lips. Something like that. As they stepped into the car, the reality of what was happening sank in. Tonight, the world would see them together. Tonight, the headlines would explode. But for Jordan, none of that mattered. Because tonight, she wasn't just Bill Belichick's secret. She was his choice. And as he took her hand in his, she knew this wasn't just another play in his legendary career. This was his biggest victory yet. The Patriots Hall of Fame induction dinner was a star-studded event, attended by legends of the game, current players, and the who's who of the NFL. As Bill and Jordan walked in together, the room seemed to hold its breath. Cameras flashed, and whispers rippled through the crowd. Is that Bill Belichick with Jordan Hudson? I didn't know they were together. She's stunning. Jordan held her head high, her hand firmly in Bill's. She could feel the weight of the room's attention, but she didn't falter. Bill, ever the stoic, led her to their table, where they were seated among some of the greatest names in football history. Throughout the evening, Jordan was struck by how different Bill seemed. He was still the same intense, focused man she had always known, but there was a lightness to him, a sense of ease she hadn't seen before. As the dinner progressed, the time came for Bill to take the stage. He stood, straightened his tie, and turned to Jordan. Stay here, he said softly. I'll be right back. She nodded, watching as he made his way to the podium. The room fell silent as Bill began to speak. Football has been my life, he said, his voice steady and strong. It's given me everything, challenges, triumphs, and the opportunity to work with some of the greatest minds in the game. But tonight, I want to talk about something else. Something that's just as important to me. He stood, straightened his tie, and turned to Jordan. Stay here, he said softly. I'll be right back. She nodded, watching as he made his way to the podium. The room fell silent as Bill began to speak. Football has been my life, he said, his voice steady and strong. It's given me everything, challenges, triumphs, and the opportunity to work with some of the greatest minds in the game. But tonight, I want to talk about something else. Something that's just as important to me. He paused, his eyes scanning the room before landing on Jordan. Love, he said simply. The room erupted in murmurs. I've spent my life building defenses, strategizing plays, and chasing victories. But the greatest victory I've ever had is standing right there. He pointed to Jordan, and the room turned to look at her. She felt her cheeks flush, but she held his gaze, her heart pounding. Jordan, you've been my rock, my cheerleader, and my greatest teammate. You've stood by me through everything, and I can't imagine my life without you. This isn't just a Valentine's gift. It's a promise. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The room gasped. Jordan's hands flew to her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Bill opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" The room erupted in applause. Jordan nodded, unable to speak. Bill slipped the ring on her finger, and the stadium erupted in applause. Unbeknownst to Jordan, Bill had arranged for their closest friends and family to be there, watching from the stands. The moment was captured on camera and shared across social media, quickly going viral. Fans and celebrities alike were moved by the raw emotion and the depth of Bill's love for Jordan. The hashtag Belichick proposal trended worldwide, with people praising Bill for showing a side of himself the world rarely saw. For Jordan, the proposal was more than just a romantic gesture. It was a testament to the love they had built together, a love that had weathered the pressures of fame, the demands of football, and the passage of time. As they left the stadium that night, hand in hand, Jordan turned to Bill and said, "I always knew you were a genius, but this was your best play yet." Bill smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "For you, Jordan, I'd rewrite the playbook every time." In the days that followed, the world couldn't stop talking about Bill Belichick's proposal. News outlets ran headlines like, "Bill Belichick's Valentine's Day Proposal," "The Playbook of Love," "From the Sidelines to the Spotlight," Jordan Hudson's fairy tale moment, the coach who won it all in love and football. But for Bill and Jordan, the headlines didn't matter. What mattered was the life they were building together. They spent the next few weeks in a blissful bubble, planning their future and savoring the quiet moments. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace in Bill's cozy study, Jordan turned to him with a curious smile. "Bill," she began, "what made you decide to do it? To propose like that, in front of everyone?" He looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "I've spent my life building defenses," he said slowly. "But with you, I don't need to defend anything. You've always seen me for who I am, not what I've accomplished. And I realized I didn't want to hide that anymore. I wanted the world to know how much you mean to me." Jordan's eyes filled with tears. "Bill," she whispered, "you've always been enough for me. But this means everything." He reached for her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "You're my greatest teammate," he said simply, "and I'm not letting you go." As the months passed, Bill and Jordan began planning their wedding. It was a small, intimate affair, attended by their closest friends and family. On the day of the wedding, Jordan stood at the altar, her heart pounding with anticipation. When Bill walked in, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo, she felt her breath catch. He looked at her, his eyes filled with a quiet intensity, and she knew this was a man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. As they exchanged vows, the room was filled with tears and laughter. And when Bill finally kissed his bride, the room erupted in applause. It was a moment of pure joy, a celebration of love, trust, and the promise of a future together. Years later, Bill and Jordan's love story became the stuff of legend. It was a story of resilience, determination, and the enduring power of love. Bill continued to coach, his passion for the game undiminished. But now, he had something even more important, a partner who stood by him through it all. Jordan, for her part, became a symbol of strength and grace. She used her platform to advocate for causes close to her heart, always with Bill by her side. Together, they built a life filled with love, laughter, and the occasional football game. And as they sat by the fireplace on a cold winter's night, Jordan turned to Bill with a smile. "You know," she said, "I think this is my favorite play of all." Bill chuckled, pulling her close. "Mine too," he said. And as the fire crackled and the snow fell outside, they knew this was just the beginning.